today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most important topics. Is we've heard that cliche reference, I'll call it, you know, it's not really cliche, but whatever, how truth hurts, you know. And in reality, what I have come to the conclusion, of course this is my opinion, that truth actually doesn't hurt. You know, everybody loves the truth. The problem with the truth is that truth demands things that we can't provide, so we frame it as the truth hurts. In reality, it doesn't hurt, it's just we are too lazy, or we are so controlled by our desires and our possessions that we can't go and chase the truth, right? So many things that I could start off with in regarding to that example, but the first thing is just look at the world around you. You know, everybody knows killing kids is wrong. Everybody knows trafficking kids is wrong. Everybody knows killing each other is wrong. You know, I'm not even getting to the outrageous, you know, offenses we have in this world against God. I'm just on the base level. Not that, you know, killing kids is not offensive to God, but to get to the point, it's just so bad. Everybody knows drugs are wrong. Then why are drugs being consumed in the world? Everybody knows, you know, domestic abuse. Any social problem is wrong. They know it, right? Then why is it still being committed? That's the real question. And it just comes down to the fact that it demands certain things that people won't give up. Like, you know, for killing kids, majority of it, especially right now, is simply coming from not wanting to be exposed, right? Because if they're exposed, they will lose all their power, they will lose all their so-called glory and all their possessions, you know. And domestic abuse, why does someone beat up their wife or their kids? Is because they're hurt themselves and they don't want to accept that, and that leads to bigger problems in society. So if people genuinely start accepting the truth as what it is and start changing it, the society will be such a better place. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And to expand on that point, why that's not the case, because it demands too much. I mean, look at you or me. There could be one thing that we're trying to change about ourselves for the longest. We know it's wrong, right? And we're actively trying to change it, but it doesn't change. That's completely different from the fact that you know something is wrong about you, but you just don't want to change it because it requires too much effort, right? Just start off basic. You know that sugar is bad for you, but you love candy so much that you just don't want to change it. So is that really why is there a bus? Is that really a issue of you hating the truth, or rather hating what comes from it, right? And another example could be, and it is probably the most popular example in the world, is look at the Abrahamic religions. You know, they're all part of the same series, right? All of the messengers, peace and blessings upon them, and the prophets, they were all part of the same series. So why are the people so different? You know, why are there wars between, why do Christians, Muslims, Jews, why we're all separated, right? And it all came down to the fact that even though they knew what was going to come for them, they didn't accept it, right? When Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him, came with the scriptures to the people of Prophet Moses, peace and blessing be upon him, why they didn't accept it? Even though they knew that we will get more messengers, you know, we will get more prophets. And the reason it came down to was ego, right? Ego, worldly possessions. They didn't want to lose that. You know, the people of that time, they had so much power, due to corruption, that they knew if they actually followed him and they corrected everything about what they're doing, they will lose those sort of possessions, right? They exchange the worldly life for their hereafter. And then it applies to us as well in this time. You know, let's say we're just walking on a street and we see, I don't know, a kid being kidnapped, right? Being snatched from the man. I can guarantee you, majority of the people won't chase. Now, there could be a factor of fear, right? That's a valid factor. If you're, you know, unable physically to fight and defend that kid, you might not be. but doesn't mean you're unable to do anything. You know, you could call the cops, you could call someone, you could call for help, but people just won't do that because it's something out of the way. It requires effort. They don't want to disturb their laziness, right? They think they're being, you know, they're protecting themselves, but no, you're not protecting yourself. Rather, you're lying to yourself because you just don't want to put in the work. And this applies to everything, you know, just not just these examples that I've given, which are really extreme. It applies to even a tiny bit of example, everything in daily life. You know, you're scamming your hours at work, right? You know it's wrong. You know, your boss catches you every time that you're scamming hours, and you know it's wrong, but you still do it. Even though that's the truth, you just hate to accept it, you know? So you don't accept it, and on top of that, you justify it to yourself that this is rather not the truth because you just simply don't want to put in the effort, you know? And that is what destroys people slowly. You know, no matter who you are, if you fall in this trap that, oh, I just don't like that idea because I just don't like it, it's false, but knowing deep down you know it's right, and then you actively choose not to pursue it, that is the key to disaster. You know, that can lead you down to a road where there's actually no coming back, you know? And once you go down that path, you just keep going to, you know, going down. Like, if I lie to myself once, I will lie to myself again and again and again till I actively, you know, try to change it. And the more you lie to yourself, the exponential damage it does to you is outrageous. Because if you lie to yourself once, that's not the issue, but 10 times, that damage is never going to be linear. That's always going to be exponential, because now you're so used to it that to you, you know, just ignoring the truth because it requires effort from you will completely disregard everything. You know, it will be so much work. So you're like, I've already messed up enough. If I try to change it right now, it'll be so much work. But what you don't realize is that the faster you get off that train of, you know, doing the wrong things, doing the wrong habits, the easier it is and the faster it is to actually get to the right path, you know, to do the right thing. But unfortunately, you know, people don't realize that. And sometimes, yes, you mess up. The point isn't, you know, the point isn't to be perfect. The point is to be actively showing up every day. You fail, get back in the game as quickly as possible. So to wrap it up, the reason why everybody say they hate the truth, in reality, is because it requires effort from them. Nobody hates the truth. Everybody loves the truth. Everybody loves the truth. Deep down, the way the human body is designed, you're designed to love what's right, you know, what's morally right. But the reason people don't is because of the effort it requires from them, which ruins it, you know, which has ruined communities, families, and eventually the world.